please watch this entire video. And I say that because I really want to make sure that you don't end up wasting your time with men who aren't serious about you, on the same page as you, and able to pour into you in the way that you need. And one of the unfortunate things I see happen very often in this dating and relationship space is women entertaining men for too long or letting them drag on in their life way longer than they should when that man has no real interest of ever being serious with that woman. All right. And to help ensure that that does not happen to you, I need you to pick up on some of the things that a man will say that's showing you he's not really that interested. Now, I know some of you will say, well, why can't this stupid man just say that he's not interested? Why can't he just make it plain and clear? And of course, that's ideal. That's what we would want. That's what I would encourage a man to do. However, we can either look at things idealistically or realistically. And what is realistic is that many men struggle with outright rejecting a woman, okay? They don't have the easiest time just telling a woman straight up, I am not interested in anything with you. Or the other problem is they have interest in you, but that interest may be to just talk on the phone, to hang out sometimes, to have sex, to have a casual relationship. So for that reason, they're not going to be as straightforward in saying, I'm not interested, because they know that that would eliminate or lessen the chances of them getting anything from you, okay? Not saying it's right, not saying it's okay, but that's what happens. So though we would want them to be as honest as possible, you have to focus on what you can control and be empowered by the knowledge that will allow you to see things for what they are so that you can make the decisions that's best for you, okay? So with that said, let's get into some of the things these men will say when they're not really interested in you. One of those things is, I don't believe in titles, okay? Now, I think this is really important for anyone dating over, I'm going to say 30. I don't know if that's the right number to throw out there, but I'm going to say 30. The reason is because what I have found is a lot of people as they get older don't really deal with the whole title of boyfriend girlfriend anymore, right? Or it's more of an awkward discussion to have for a lot of people. But unfortunately, that creates more dynamics where nothing's being directly defined, right? And since there are no titles, there's no clarity as far as what are we doing here. And when you're dealing with a man who does not believe in titles, it is extremely unlikely that he's looking to have a serious relationship with you. Because men who are deeply into a woman, who are serious about her, who are looking to a brighter future with her, they have no problem defining the situation. They have no problem saying, you are my woman. So even if he doesn't want to give you're my girlfriend title, he would be able, and no, I'm a backtrack. Because there is no, even if he doesn't want to give the girlfriend title, he would be able to, if he's really into you, if he's really serious, and that's what he wants, he would have no problem saying that. He would have no problem confirming with you, you are his woman, he is your man, and you guys are in a committed relationship where you're not entertaining any other individuals. So if he says he does not believe in titles, you can't just look at that as, oh, okay, well, maybe that's just not his thing, but he's still my man. Don't make those assumptions, okay? Make sure you get full clarity on what that means to him, even though chances are that just means he's not really that interested. All right. So another thing men say when they're not really that interested is, let's just go with the flow. Now, if you've read my book, He's Lying, Sis, or if you've watched any of my other videos, you may have heard me talk about my dislike for the phrase, let's just go with the flow. And I fully understand and respect the fact that not only do men use that, there are women who are using that. And there are people who would make the argument that they use that phrase or they say those things because they just don't want the pressure of expectations just yet, not that they aren't possibly open to it, right? So I do think that is possible. But again, I think more times than not, you're dealing with a man who simply, again, he may want to entertain you, he may want to enjoy certain aspects of dating with you, but more than likely he's not looking for something serious. Now, has a person who said the phrase "let's go with the flow" ended up in a serious relationship with somebody? Yes, it has happened. But for every success story, I can probably give you 1,000 more that weren't successful. So you can't bet on that. So everything here is fair game, or you should dive deeper into. So whenever a man says it, I don't want you to just take it as, oh, automatic, he's not interested, let me stop dealing with him, let me cut him off. No, dive a little deeper, talk about it if possible, but also line up the words with his actions. Because many times, not just many times, almost every time, we're going to say many, because I'm going to give you the caveat in a second. Many times, the man who's going to say these things, like let's go with the flow, as well as some of the other things I'm going to mention on this list, their actions will show you a man who's not that serious as well. So it's unlikely that he's going to be showing you all this effort, all this attention, all this love, but then say, let's go with the flow. Now, can that happen? Yes. And I know that might sound confusing, but it's just true. There are some men who behave very boyfriend or even husband-like, even when they're not trying to be officially committed to you. This is why, again, for anyone who feels like this is just so complicated, no, the way to simplify it is have discussions, communicate. That can make things so much easier. But also, as a woman, trust your intuition, be aware of these things, and I'll give you a few more to look out for. All right, so let's keep this thing going. And another thing a man says when he's not that interested, not really interested, is I have a lot going on, I'm very busy. All right. Or some variation of I don't have the time available to give you in the ways that you would want or desire. Okay. Now, as someone who myself has a lot going on and has had a lot going on for many, many, many years, I am not saying that that cannot be a true statement. I am not saying, again, that it's impossible for a man to have actual interest, but maybe be at a stage of his life that he cannot handle all the responsibilities that he has, plus pour into a relationship in the way that that woman will need. All of these things are potentially true. And again, this is why deeper discussions need to be had. However, I want you to always understand that when we say it means he's not interested, yes, in most cases, that will probably apply. All right. And that it is used as an excuse to not hold that man to any certain standards, to give him the leeway that he needs to navigate the situation. And again, chances are, though he may want to entertain you, he's not looking to get into anything too serious. Now, I know many people will say, well, you make time for what you want. And yes, I do believe that when someone wants to build something with you, they're going to make time busy or not. However, I will always stand by the fact that some people have less time available to pull from. All right. If you're dealing with a man who doesn't have much going on, let's say he's not even working right now. Well, the man who's not working is clearly going to have a lot more time to give, a lot more time to pull from to provide you with attention, phone calls, all these things. Whereas the man who might be a CEO or working at a company in a big position and he has to travel, he has to do all these things, though he should still be able to find some time, right, to connect and build with you, he will not have as much available time to pull from as the other guy. So you do have to take that into consideration, okay? But what's important is when that guy says that, there needs, as far as I'm too busy, I have a lot going on, I think what would be best is to have a discussion about what you require in order to be happy or at peace with the dating process with him. All right. Because different women require different things. And if in that discussion you realize, or you guys come to the conclusion that he cannot fulfill those requirements, then don't bother with the situation. And when I say don't bother, it doesn't mean that if things change and he wants to come back around that you can't entertain it at that time if you are available. It just means there's no point in pushing things along right now, at least with any expectations of anything serious or getting yourself romantically involved and possibly your feelings caught up with someone who you don't know when or if ever will be able to step up to the plate. All right. So again, discuss, always communicate, but it is a common phrase used by men who are just looking for a cop out because they're not that interested. All right, we got a couple more to go, or a few more to go. And so another thing a man will say when he's not that interested is, I'm not ready for a relationship. Okay. Now, I think that's pretty cut and dry, right? Clearly, well, we say cut and dry, but here's the reality. This is what happens in many situations. Man says, I'm not ready for a relationship. A lot of women, if they're willing to admit it, think to themselves, okay, he may not be ready now, but if I stick around long enough, he may become ready. Or when he is ready, if I'm there in his life and established, he'll choose me. So like you may have heard people say on the internet, like, men marry whoever's around when they're ready to settle down. And I'm not saying there isn't some level of truth to that. What I am saying is that's not the husband you want. Like, you don't want the man to choose you because you just happen to be around at the time that he wants to settle down. You want a man to choose you because he sees in you the woman that he can share his life with, that he aligns with, that he can pour into, and so on. So it's important to understand that if he says he's not ready, even if, again, he's coming from a genuine place, you have to take a step back, because the problem is in thinking that you can just stick around and wait it out. For most women, what can happen, or what does happen, is you develop feelings, you get very emotionally attached, and then again, if his I'm not ready was actually I'm just not that interested, but he couldn't say it straightforward, well, guess what happens? You don't end up becoming the woman he chooses, even when he does become ready to settle down. There's been tons of women who tried this tactic, and when that man was ready to settle down, he chose someone else. All right. And they felt cheated, they felt hurt. But the thing they have to be honest with themselves about is, in many situations, not all, he never said, wait for me. He never said, oh, like, as long as you stick around, I'm going to choose you. He never told you, I'm trying to be with you seriously. You took a huge risk, right? And I don't say that for you to beat yourself up or feel bad, but I need you to be aware. And if it wasn't you, aware of what happens to a lot of women so that you don't make that same mistake. So if he's not ready, and again, nothing wrong with having discussion to have a better understanding of why he feels like he's not ready. But in many cases, that's just a clear sign for you to let that situation go. All right, now before we get to the next one, real quick, I want to give you an opportunity to get your hands on my life-changing course, How to Choose a Man. Now, I know some of y'all might say, well, we're not supposed to be the one of choosing. No, there's still a process of choosing, and I need you to be aware of how to properly vet these men so that you don't waste your time with the wrong ones and you can receive the right one. So go to chooseaman.com or click the link in the description or in the comment section and get the course today. You are going to find it extremely, extremely helpful. All right. So now the next thing a man will say when he's not really that interested is, I value our friendship too much. Now, this one I feel like could be a strong punch to the gut for some women who are dealing with that situation or have dealt with that situation. And essentially, you may have a man that you are acquaintances with, or good friends, not even acquaintances, but you're friends with. You've developed a good friendship with them. You guys get along so well, and you've developed feelings. And you may have finally said, you know what, let me throw it out there and see if we can make something happen, right? Or maybe you guys even crossed the line of being intimate. And you're wondering, all right, we're great friends. Now we've been intimate. It should be a no-brainer to get into a relationship. And then he hits you with something like, I value our friendship too much. Now, again, the reality is that there's always the possibility that some of these things are coming from a genuine place. All right. It is possible that a man, and it happens with women as well, where there's a fear of crossing the line of romantic, deep, serious, committed romantic relationship with someone versus keeping them as a friend because they have a very negative perception of what happens when you cross that line. They have unresolved traumas from previous relationships. They may feel like they will sabotage or they will mess up the situation and lose someone they hold dear to their heart. Like I've seen men who had feelings for their female best friend, but maybe felt like they haven't conquered their desire to entertain women in general. Maybe they feel like they still need more to experience. And they know if I get with my friend now, I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna end up hurting her. And that's the last thing I wanna do. So instead, nah, I can't. And so if the conversation comes up, them saying, I value our friendship too much is genuine. However, there's the other side. And the other side is there's a lot of situations where a man could be great friends with you, but that doesn't mean he views you in a romantic sense. And I hate to say this, but I have to say it because it's just true and the truth sets people free. A lot of times when people cannot cross the line of friendship to romantic relationship is because there's a lack of physical attraction. All right. Now, what leads to that lack of physical attraction can vary. Sometimes it's just different styles of people, different types of people. Sometimes it is physical presentation. The list goes on and on. But either way, a lot of times that's what's getting in the way. And sometimes it is something, it's a factor that can change, right? But then the question is, should it, depending on what it is? And other times it's not nothing that can be changed. It's just not there. Okay. And so it's a tough pill to swallow. But again, it's one of those situations where if he's telling you that, despite the fact that you may feel like, man, but we get along so well and we love each other in the sense that how one loves a friend or anyone that they care deeply about, but without certain factors like physical attraction, it can't graduate to a romantic relationship. It simply won't work that way. As well as people healing. I'll say that before we move on to the next point. Any chance of things being able to progress for a lot of people will hinge on their willingness to heal from past issues. And that might allow them to then embrace their friend as something more. But for others, it's never going to go beyond that. All right, couple more to go. We're almost done. Another thing a man will say when he's just not that interested is, I'm not looking for anything serious. Now, this one is probably the clearest cut one on this list. All right. There's not much I can like ifs, buts, and other possibilities when it comes to him saying, I'm not looking for anything serious. Now, again, has there ever been a situation that started that way and turned into something serious? Yes, but those are extremely, extremely rare. I think the best approach is always going to be if he says, I'm not looking for anything serious, and you know you want something real, something serious, abort the mission. Let him go, walk away. Because if you get intertwined with this man, develop feelings, get emotionally attached, even if his behavior is very boyfriend-ish or husband-ish, because yes, a man can say, I'm not looking for anything serious, but still behave in lovey-dovey ways. Because not looking for something serious simply means I am not looking to be committed to a woman or to you, right? I'm not looking to be held to a certain level of obligation. I'm not looking to be held to a certain standard, okay? But none of that means I wouldn't want to enjoy my time with you. I wouldn't want to sleep with you, whatever. So they can still do all of those things and not ever want to cross a line of commitment with you. So that is why it is so important that if a man says, I'm not looking for anything serious, take him at his word. That's it. Do not overanalyze. Don't try to be like, well, no, but he he did do this the other day and he's been acting like, no. He told you I want to say this because, if you proceed with him, it could be 6 months later, a year later, and you finally can't take it and you bring up the issue. And he's like, I always told you I didn't want something serious. Like, why are you turning on me? Why are you tripping on me now when I was always clear with you? And this has happened to tons of women. So please do not make that mistake. All right. And now, last but not least, a thing that a man will say when he's really not that interested is he will say nothing at all. Now, what do I mean by that? I put his silence on this list because a lot of times, again, because of men's struggle or unwillingness to directly reject the woman, he may just simply not address the issue. Whether he wants to entertain you in any fashion or even not, he may never say anything, all right? And you, in hoping that things will just progress, may just go along and stick around and continue to make contact with him and all these things, but he's never going to speak on it. And so that in itself says a lot, right? But I never want you to just take his unwillingness to talk about it or unwillingness to speak on it himself as just 100%. That's what it is. That is your sign to address the issue. And so I was recently doing an interview and the woman asked me, when is it too soon to ask a man, what are we doing here? What are you looking for? Things of that nature. And I said, listen, the minute it is bothering you, the minute it is a concern for you, the minute it is a thought in your head, talk about it. Do not have this idea that you have to wait for him to say something. And again, if you are afraid that by saying something you will run him off, you only run off the man who wasn't trying to be serious anyway. Any man who views serious potential with you is not going to take issue with you asking, so what are your intentions? And again, always speak in a more calm, loving manner. Don't attack him with it. But as long as you're taking the right positive approach to it, no man who's serious is going to take issue and run. If he runs, you just weeded somebody out. That's a good thing. So do not be afraid to speak up. Do not be afraid to ask questions. Do not wait for him to take initiative on discussions that are lingering and bothering you. Because if you don't speak on it, when it's already bothering you, it's going to start to come out in your energy, in your attitude. You might get agitated with him in certain moments. And whether you realize it or not, it's that your shift in energy is what now gives him a negative perspective of you because he doesn't understand what's creating it, what's driving it. So don't let things linger and be bottled up. Express yourself, get it off your chest. That way you can get the clarity that you need and you'll be able to see or understand if this is someone you can move forward with. Thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on This Is How You Emotionally Break Free from a Man and Reclaim Your Peace. I will say, and I feel the need that I have to say, that in many cases, in most cases, if not damn near all, you saw something. You sensed something.